Thank you, Safari, and thank you, colleagues from the State Department for Diaspora, from the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, and good afternoon, good evening, good morning, Kenyans in diaspora, wherever you might be. This is the last of these three sessions for stakeholder engagement for our conversation on this labor migration management bill. I want to thank you for making the time to come and have this really important conversation. I wanted to make a couple of really quick remarks which in my mind will anchor this conversation before I step back and allow really the owners of this bill, who are the Ministry of Labor, take us through the bill and then take your comments. Now, colleagues and friends, here at the State Department for Diaspora Affairs, one of our really important mandates is to protect the rights and welfare of Kenyans abroad. And a second mandate that works with that one is to harness opportunities for diasporians for employment and business abroad. These two pieces of mandate are the reason we are working together with the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection to bring together this bill to you. Of course, as you already know, diasporians, one of the things that we are also tasked to do is to mainstream your participation in the process of national development. A big part of that national development is ensuring that you are taking part in whatever decisions are being made by the state on your behalf or on behalf of Kenyans, so that you're a part of the journey. So whenever we have law reform, whether it is bills that have to do specifically with you or with Kenya broadly, we want to be able to bring them to you and for you to participate. This particular one is of particular importance to Kenyans living abroad because it specifically touches this idea of labor that is on the move. I want to say three really quick things. One, I want to speak about the rationale for this bill. Why was the Labor Migration Management Bill 2023 put together? Three things. The first one, again, as I said, is to protect the rights and welfare of Kenyans abroad. I have been in office now 9 months. And for those 9 months, I can tell you that one of the most sticking issues that we have continued to face has been the plight of migrant workers, where you've had workers go to a different country, have had their rights not protected, have found themselves to be victims of human trafficking, or sometimes have found themselves on the wrong side of the law. And a big part of our job here then is to ensure that they are fine. Sometimes that has meant that we have to rescue them from dangerous situations. Sometimes it has meant that we have tried to extend legal aid, and sometimes that has meant we have to intervene in even more disruptive ways. But there hasn't existed a framework that allows us to do this well. So the big thing that this bill tries to do is to protect the rights of Kenyan workers abroad. Secondly, we are trying to facilitate the employment of Kenyans abroad. So far, for the last maybe 2 decades, the employment of Kenyans abroad has been ad hoc, it has been unregulated, and in many ways our own laws and systems for regulating and for really structuring foreign employment have sat in various places. So you have a little bit that has sat in traditionally the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. You've had the big chunk of it that has been in the Ministry of Labor. You have had elements that are found in the State Department for Social Protection. We have bits and pieces that are in security, the DCI, and so on. And what this has meant is that coordination has not always been very good. But also, what that means is sometimes some things fall through the cracks. Migrant workers in many ways are very vulnerable, and we have tried to protect them by creating a bill then that sort of structures our engagement and the facilitation of employment in foreign countries. Facilitation means how can we make it easier for Kenyans to find jobs abroad? How can we make it faster for them to complete their journey of pre-migration. But how can we better support them both before they move, but also after they move? And the third rationale for this bill has been to regulate the players in this space. For many years, it has been led by private sector, and really because we are in a global labor market, and market forces are at play. So it is expected indeed that private sector has led labor migration. So many people have had jobs abroad because they have hustled and found that job, or because a recruitment agency has been able to match demand with supply and gotten them jobs abroad. But these spaces haven't been regulated well. So we have found often employers who have not always treated our citizens right when they go to these foreign countries, and we've not been able to protect them. We have had migrant workers not knowing where to go for help because there hasn't been a structured way for them to engage. But we've also had recruitment agencies, a number of them legit, but also a number who have been rogue, a number unregistered, and have still managed to, as they call it, kusafirisha wa Kenya. So we want to regulate this space a little bit, in a little bit of a stricter way to protect the lives and livelihoods of Kenyans. So what has the journey of this bill been? One, it has been a lot of benchmarking and a lot of learning lessons from other countries who've gone before us. A study has been done by various players within the Ministry of Labor, and even here at the State Department for Diaspora Affairs, other countries that are labor-sending countries, whether it be the Philippines, whether it is Sri Lanka or India or other places. We have studied their systems to understand how do they protect their migrant workers so well. Many of you, maybe not you guys here, but others, have constantly on our social media said, why can't the government of Kenya protect its employees or its migrant workers the way the Philippines does? This is the solution for that. We have studied what the Philippines is doing. We have taken some of those lessons and have put them in this bill. So we've asked ourselves, how have countries that have succeeded both in getting large numbers of diaspora out there, but in protecting them as well and keeping their families intact, how have they done it? We have studied that. We have tried to bring some of that here. We've done quite a bit of engagement within government, creating the labor migration policy, which has just passed through cabinet now, and then the creation of this bill. This bill also brings together a number of acts of parliament, which if you look at part 8, you will see all of the bits that it tries to amend. Now, what is the journey of a bill? You have done the policy, you have a draft, you take it through stakeholder engagement, which is what we are doing here. You ask yourselves, this bill, who is it going to affect the most? And then bring them together and have a conversation. We are at the stakeholder engagement level. And here we are asking you, Kenyans who live abroad, to give us your comments on this bill so that they can make their way into the text of what eventually becomes the law. Now, that probably is not happening with other persons. It is happening with you because you're a stakeholder. I want to underscore the fact that this is not the end of that conversation. After you have worked through the bill, I know a number of you have read it. After you have read it, after it's been presented to us today by the panel, and you have given your comments, and we are sharing the email address that you can send more of those comments on, then all of that will be sent to Labor, which is the sponsor of this bill. Do you have an opportunity to engage the bill again? You do. Once it goes to Bunge and it begins the process, then there will be an opportunity for what is called public participation. So at that point as well, you can come back and say, we looked at the bill when it was presented to us during stakeholder engagement. We didn't like 1, 2, 3 things. We would like to engage some more and participate. That is your constitutional right, and we want you to be able to do that. Public participation and give your comments. And then at that point, you can participate directly. We are happy to host another conversation like this where you can participate. But beyond that, you can also participate directly through Bunge. And also those are things that we can help put together for you. And then after that, if it passes public participation and all of those other processes, only then does it become enacted into law. So this is not the last of our engagement. We expect and hope that you will continue engaging with us. But finally, Diaspora, I want to say that as you look at this bill and as you engage with this bill, it is important that you understand the intention of the drafters of this bill and what we are trying to do. Government's job is really 3 or 4 things. In this particular issue, government's job is to facilitate, government's job is to regulate, is to create policy, and is to protect. And those are the 4 things that this bill tries to do. So as now I hand over to the panel, I want to thank you again for making the time to come and join us for this conversation, and I really, really look forward to hearing your comments. Asanteni sana.